Hello and welcome to CTV News across Canada for Friday, March 14th. We've got the top local stories from coast to coast. Stories that affect you and the country. Thanks for joining us.
The impact of U.S. tariffs on the minds of many, including Pamela DiNardo.
I'd say it's a concern for everybody because we don't know what tomorrow looks like.
The uncertainty also impacting the markets.
I've just recently retired, and I'm not going to lose my job, but I may lose my investments, which is what I based our retirement schedule on. So that's a huge concern.
Amid the ongoing trade war, a new Leger poll suggests 40% of Canadians are worried about losing their jobs in the next year.
100% worried about our jobs, and we don't know what the future holds for us, actually. I think it's insane. I'm in construction, so for us, it's going to affect us big time, especially the aluminum and the metal tariffs. I don't think it's fair to the Canadian people, to be honest.
While no city will be immune from the impact, experts say Ottawa should fare better than others.
Nearly a quarter of jobs in the Ottawa region are in public services, and that industry should mostly stay intact. That's government jobs. Ottawa has a pretty big presence in industries such as professional services, financial services, these kind of services that should be, at least relative to the manufacturing and resource sectors, be unscathed by the tariffs.
Many doing what they can to buy Canadian.
I try my best to stay away from U.S. products, and I spent extra time to do it, and I'm glad to do it.
Now, the longer this goes on, the greater the impact and risk that additional industries may also be hit. Patricia.
CTV's Katie Griffin live for us tonight.
Only a few months ago,
an entrepreneur with a new tropic beverage.
She was on a reality show pitching American investors.
My name is Jasmine Mooney, and I'm a co-founder of Holy Water.
She was unsuccessful, but Mooney went back to the U.S. to work for a new company, applying for a new visa at the border between California and Mexico.
Without any warning about what was about to transpire, I was literally just taken. I feel like I've been kidnapped. I was taken, all my stuff were taken from me, and I was put in a jail cell.
CTV reached her at an Arizona detention facility.
I don't understand anything that's going on because I've been here detained in different jails for 11 days now, and I haven't been talked to by a single person.
I haven't spoken to Jasmine since before she left. I have not been able to get contact with her.
Mooney's mom went public and is hoping media attention will get them answers since she hasn't been accused or charged with any crimes.
She was absolutely trying to do everything by the book. She's a Canadian citizen with a valid passport. She had visa documentation in hand. She was trying to follow the rules.
Global Affairs Canada tells CTV News consular officials are in contact with local authorities to gather additional information and to provide consular assistance.
I advised her not to do it.
This longtime U.S. immigration lawyer spoke to Mooney before she left.
Nothing from talking to her made me concerned about her applying. The only thing that concerned me was on the southern border during the Trump administration. I thought it was a bad idea, but never in my mind would I thought that she'd be taken into custody and put in formal deportation proceedings.
Now even the Premier is watching to see how this unfolds.
It certainly reinforces anxiety that many British Columbians have and many Canadians have about our relationship with the United States right now and the unpredictability of this administration.
I don't understand why I'm put in this system when I voluntarily said, yes, I'm going back to Canada. I'll pay for my flight.
Mooney could face months in custody until she appears before a judge in an unusual situation during an historically fraught time. Penny Daflaw, CTV News, White Rock.
A worker sorts through steel wire at Savaco in Ingersoll, while a banner on the production facility touts its more than 50-year history in the community. But along that timeline, no one could have foreseen the devastating trade war with America, a war that's now led to a decline in U.S. orders and more than a dozen job losses. Savaco's Quebec-based parent company tells CTV News other decisions regarding the workforce of 100 people at this facility might need to be made in the future. It is ominous news for a town so reliant on the production of goods exported from the United States. GM Cami and its suppliers are the biggest concern for officials, but Ingersoll is also home to multiple small and medium businesses reliant on American trade. Al Sim is a past president of the Chamber of Commerce and current general manager of Community Futures, which supports medium and small firms.
I think this is a wake-up call for a lot of our businesses.
Sim says upper-level governments will need to step up to help smaller communities as the impact of tariffs deepens. He fears more job losses are coming to Ingersoll.
It's going to hurt those families if people are laid off. And, obviously, we're going to be here.
Sim says his office will point impacted employees to community supports while offering direct aid and potential financial assistance to small businesses. It is a comfort for those impacted at Savaco. Now, beyond the job losses, the parent company says it will be implementing some further cost-cutting measures and canceling some projects. It says it's necessary to remain competitive amidst the ongoing tariff war. In multiple emails, a company representative stated the firm is working hard to maintain orders and capture new customers in Canada.
It's unfortunate that, these companies are impacted. Nobody expected this.
Or asked for it.
There's a lot of chaos right now, and it's coming from the United States, and it's not needed.
Leaving those here to hope time will fix all. In Ingersoll, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
I guess the easiest way to put it would be I'm pissed.
Strong words from the COO of this country's largest ice cream manufacturer. Ashley Chapman never thought he'd find himself operating an all-Canadian company in the midst of a trade war with the United States of America.
We've been bringing this stuff up from the States forever. Some of our contracts with our suppliers have been for 30, 35 years.
Those suppliers left shocked, Chapman says. With 99% of its sales here in Canada, attention is now turning to finding new spots for some key ingredients that the company needs, things like walnuts and almonds, primarily looking in Europe, but also in South America.
One of the big ones is cherries, though that one actually we've had a little bit of good news today. We found a cherry supplier in Italy.
We have an all-Canadian produce box.
Eat Impact, a berry-based food delivery service that packages surplus or imperfect produce and protein, is seeing increased relevance in light of the ongoing trade war. While they've always prioritized local ingredients, their new Canadian-only box makes it easier than ever and comes after customer demand.
They were emailing us, they were calling us, they were saying, we want to know where the produce is coming from and we want to buy local. So that's when we decided to launch the all-Canadian.
While the tariffs Canada has already placed in response to actions from the Trump White House aren't heavily impacting Chapman's, the company is forecasting a margin loss of between 25 to 30% if Donald Trump moves ahead with his planned tariffs on all Canadian imports on April 2nd. Despite that,
we just don't feel comfortable raising our prices to the Canadian consumer, who is going to be the one ultimately that is going to face the biggest effect of these tariffs. So we decided, okay, we are just going to suck it up for this year, and hopefully some sort of sanity comes back to North America.
Unfortunately, Chapman says at this point in time, there's just no way for him to predict exactly how this will play out and what the long-term impacts on his customers will be if this continues into 2026. So reporting live here, I'm Dana Roberts. Sarah, we will send it back to you.
Okay, appreciate that, Dana.
It's a nightmare, to be honest. Like, it's I think every parent's nightmare.
Morgan's one-year-old son started going to Little Stars Daycare in Spruce Grove in December. She says everything seemed normal.
There was nothing that, to me, that indicated that I should have been concerned, which is like the scariest part.
That was until she got a call from the daycare's management. She says they told her son had been assaulted and there was video footage. She describes what she saw in one of the videos.
My one-year-old was climbing the bookcase and they picked him up by the upper arm and lifted him off of the bookshelf and off the floor and put him in a corner and then kept him there.
She says another video shows him being pulled down hard to the floor by his arm again, and the last video shows him being pushed.
My husband and I, we were in shock for the longest time, and now it's I try not to think about it because then I get upset.
Morgan says she reported the assaults to the RCMP on Monday and is demanding charges against 2 daycare workers. RCMP say they are investigating. Police say a total of 4 victims have been identified, but they believe there could be more.
We sent that media release out just to notify the public and see if we can identify any more victims.
The Minister of Jobs, Economy and Trade says the Child Care Licensing Division is also investigating.
We've issued a probationary license to the child care provider in question, and we will take further steps as additional information it comes forward.
Morgan says the ordeal has broken her confidence.
I think that it's going to take us a really long time to be able to trust anybody to take care of our children again. And
no charges have been laid. The daycare would not comment. Nav Sanga, CTV News, Edmonton.
I actually saw the mother and one of the children was wheeled right by me on the gurney.
For Allison Foster and others on her Oshawa Street, the shock and sadness of the fire is overwhelming.
I can relate. I have a 9-year-old and a 13-year-old boy. I put myself in the family's shoes, and it's devastating. I was bawling my eyes out last night.
It's a tragedy which has torn a family of 4 apart. The 46-year-old mother and her 9-year-old daughter were pulled from the flames and smoke by firefighters but didn't survive. Another daughter, 12 years old, was also rescued. She was rushed to Sick Kids. The girl's father managed to get out on his own but was also hospitalized.
Often in their backyard, swimming in their pool. They're out front. They're always interacting with people that have dogs, like very, very friendly people.
They were very nice people. They were always playing outside. You could hear the children playing. But yeah, no, I mean, seemed like a great family.
It's a tragedy compelling some who don't know the family to stop by in person.
We had a fire back in October and we lost our home. So I just wanted to come and show our support and that we stand with them.
The Ontario Fire Marshal is leading the investigation into how the fire began. It broke out Wednesday morning around 8 on McGregor Street near Centre Street South. Firefighters say the structure of the home is unsafe and needs to be dismantled to get answers.
They will pick it apart piece by piece, and when they feel it is safe, so they'll remove probably the top floor first, and if it's safe for them to go in at that point, then they'll go in and investigate, or they may remove it down to the main floor.
Also for safety, fire crews are going door to door in the area making sure homes have working smoke alarms. If the alarms went off is a key part of the investigation.
It was basically standing right here.
Foster believes the timing of the fire couldn't have been worse and says if it wasn't for March break, the girls likely would have been up or at school.
Well, I'm hoping the 12-year-old survives, that's for sure, and the father, so at least they can have some sort of a foundation left of their family.
Firefighters say this kind of tragedy is rare. They're stressing the importance of families going over their fire escape plan and test fire alarms. It's not known yet if the smoke alarms were working. Firefighters say it's the homeowner's responsibility to make sure those alarms are working, and if they do, it will save lives. The demolition of the home is expected to start tomorrow. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth.
The STM's new Keep It Moving policy in metro stations will mean a ban on loitering, among other measures.
In some areas, people are scared and they don't want to take the metro anymore.
The changes will mostly affect the city's homeless population, many of whom spend hours each day inside metro stations, especially in the winter. The STM says riders have been feeling less safe, their sense of safety dropping by 10% in the last 4 months. STM special constables can now force people to keep moving and can make people leave the station if they witness problematic situations like drug use or urination, something the head of the STM says won't be done systematically.
To be sure that in the station everybody will feel safe. So it will be do with a caring approach, with judgment, and we won't use everywhere, anytime.
The STM is also making changes to a number of metro stations where the STM has seen an increase in drug use and criminal activity. In some cases, hallways and entryways will be closed off. But many community organizations in the city say all of this will just push a problem elsewhere.
I don't think anybody who's sleeping in the metro wants to be there. I think they would prefer to be in a permanent place that they can call home. And so why don't we, instead of spending millions of dollars on security, why don't we instead invest in helping people get to where they really want to be?
Opposition party Ensemble Montréal says everyone deserves to feel safe in public spaces and doubts this is the answer.
How come we're not arriving here and arriving with a solution where we're not just pushing people away?
City Councillor Craig Sauvé agrees.
We're merely displacing these issues to perhaps right outside to the metro and into our neighborhoods.
The STM says constables will direct people to resources, but the city's shelters and warming centers are regularly full. When reporters repeatedly asked where homeless people are supposed to go,
Je pense que cette question-là, c'est vraiment du côté du gouvernement du Québec, faut la poser.
The mayor said it's a question for the provincial government. For now, the measures are temporary and will continue until April 30th. Angela McKenzie, CTV News.
John Doerr Prairie is one of 3 communities that make up the Little Red River Cree Nation in northern Alberta. On Sunday, it made headlines.
There's a worldwide increase in measles, and it's a concerning finding to see a case in Alberta.
Officials tell CTV News there have been 6 confirmed cases and 1 probable case of measles. An investigation is underway.
The big issue is the contacts and then trying to figure out where these individuals were exposed. This came from somewhere else.
The illness has been moving quickly throughout North America in 2025.
It just spreads so violently to large numbers of people, in the time before you get a rash and know what's going on. So it's a difficult one to contain, honestly.
And it's a tough thing to deal with. Health experts say more than a quarter of cases need to be hospitalized for supportive care, and every case needs to isolate for 3 weeks. The good news? Measles is easy to avoid.
This is almost the standard of vaccine-like success because it's highly effective at preventing disease in the realm of 97 to 99%.
But Thursday, Alberta's health minister still wouldn't recommend all residents get the measles vaccination.
It is a parental choice, and parents and guardians have to make sure that they're well informed and make the best choice that's right for them and their families.
Adriana LaGrange says her family has had the shot, but stopped short of endorsing it for everyone else. It's reminiscent of the province's stance on other vaccines and completely contrasts the approach just north of Alberta.
I urge all residents to check their vaccination status and make sure that they are up to date. Science has given us the tools to fight this disease. It's up to us to use them.
Seen here in YouTube videos from his failed political runs in the Brantford community, Leslie Borey was convicted earlier this year of advocating genocide, willfully promoting hate, and 2 counts of uttering threats. Court heard that Borey, through various social media channels, spread hateful and violent messages targeting the Jewish community along with police and politicians.
We're talking about an individual here who laid out over long periods of time a blueprint for committing acts of mass violence and genocide towards a minority group here in Canada.
Jewish human rights group the Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Center filed the initial complaint about Borey to Brantford police.
We made to police because we were concerned about the violent nature of this man's rhetoric.
The court heard in his video and podcast that Borey fantasized about going on a safari to mass murder Jews, police, and politicians. He tried to build an army, had weapons, and spread the message as far as possible, and that Borey did not just talk to his friends, he tried every possible means to spread his message. Kirsner Roberts says Borey's actions, although just words, represent a clear danger.
All acts of violence, whether we're talking about an assault on the street or an example of a genocide, start with words. They start with words and then they escalate to plans.
The Crown was seeking a total of 7 years behind bars, including the maximum of 5 years for advocating genocide. In his sentence, Judge James Ramsey told the court every Canadian is a victim from Borey's actions and that a poison has been injected into our public discourse. But the judge found that 2 years of time served is in line with legal precedent.
I would say that this case is really indicative of a failure of our justice system more broadly to hold hate criminals accountable.
While thankful for the actions of police and prosecutors, they say the sentence does not do enough to deter and denounce these kind of crimes.
Individuals like Mr. Borey involved in very, very dangerous activities are getting away with a slap on the wrist.
She says that this case should be a wake-up call to lawmakers.
In this moment of dramatically rising hate crime, especially targeting the Jewish community, that the justice system step up and make it clear that Jewish Canadians and all Canadians have a right to live their life without being targeted.
The city of Winnipeg has yet to see a dime from the lawsuit over the police headquarters project, even though it's counting on some of those dollars to cover a big hole in last year's budget.
I kind of have to go back to my university accounting class days.
In 2023, City Council accepted a $22 million settlement related to a lawsuit around the construction of the new station. A report to the Mayor's Executive Policy Committee says no funds have been collected to date, and it's not known if or when that money will be paid out. But a report earlier this month suggests the city was able to wipe out a large deficit from last year because of proceeds from the settlement. The improvement is mainly due to the year-end recognition of a receivable of $22.5 million related to the police headquarters settlement.
Why are we accounting for it in this very foggy way?
City Finance Committee Chair Jeff Brawadi says there's a simple explanation.
We are confident, and our very cautious public service is comfortable that we will be made whole on this agreement at this point.
As per terms of the settlement, he says the city has secured 6 properties as collateral that can be sold to recoup money owed if needed.
Our lawyers, our auditors, and that have now basically told us that it is a valid receivable. We do need to recognize it on our books, even though the cash is not in hand.
Still, City Councillor Brian Mays questions the timing of when the receivable is being recorded in a year where there was a lot of red ink.
It certainly looks like it was suddenly found money to solve the problem of the deficit. So let's get some answers to that.
The 2023 settlement stipulates if the city does not receive payment in 3 years, it could get up to $28 million. So that $22.5 million could grow.
Jeff, on the timing of all this, why wasn't this receivable placed on the city's books in 2023 when that settlement was reached? Why 2024?
Yeah, we asked Brawadi that. He says it's his understanding it took the city some time to have all the legal agreements in place with respect to securing the properties.
All right, thanks for this, Jeff.
Uncertainty has been a popular word when looking at the markets this week. Trillions of dollars lost.
Yeah, well, uncertainty is never good for any sector, and mining's part of that. Uncertainty on many fronts can cause all kinds of issues in terms of long-term pricing.
The State of the Ontario Mining Sector report not only leverages the most recent data available, it aims to highlight the industry's strategic role in the provincial economy, and experts say there is some reason for optimism. According to its figures, Ontario's domestic mineral exports were $64 billion in 2023. $42 billion of that went to the United States. The sector made up almost $24 billion of Ontario's GDP. It employs 22,000 people directly, 126,000 indirectly. It's that major role that has some optimistic that the province's trading partners will recognize it as a valuable partner to continental security.
We're hearing governments, we're hearing the public talking about minerals every day. It's brought it to the forefront, and we're happy to see that the public is more aware of this huge strategic advantage that Canada and Ontario have in the mineral sector.
Whether that's true or not, one thing is for certain. No one, even the U.S. president, has been willing to call the premier out for comments like this.
Guess what? We got to stockpile that nickel here and sell it to the rest of the world and shut down your manufacturing, your military. I'll do it in a heartbeat.
I think our members and myself know that the Premier's got to do his job. He's ensuring that Canada and Ontario are not a pushover, and he's being strategic.
One company so far unfazed, I Am Gold. Its Go Gamma operations will probably increase to about 700 jobs later this year.
A lot of it is stay the course and see how things will work. We are also working in the background, identifying who our U.S. Suppliers are, reaching out to them, seeing what they can do to, work with us on this.
Wilson says they have a lot of work happening quietly in the background. The company is working to understand what it means to its bottom line, and interprovincial work to eliminate trade barriers have them encouraged.
We're doing the market research that we need to, but as well, we're continuing hiring, and we are continuing our growth project here. So we've got an 18-year mine life in front of us.
Ian Campbell, CTV News, Sudbury.